Well, welcome back, everybody. We're going to start up this next video on the old Polara here in the barn because, well, we got a bunch of work left to do on this old girl to get her ready to rock and roll. And I will apologize. I hurt my ribs. Don't ask how. I have no idea. But it happened. So I got to take it easy. Kind of perfect excuse to let Dad take over, but I've been having fun working on it and putting it together. It's the first time we ever done a bunch of stock stuff. But anyways, we're starting off in the barn because we are hunting for parts. And right now I'm actually just kind of marveling at the amount of crap I have in here. You know, I kind of started out last year wanting more 4-speeds, and now I got 2 A-body units, a couple B-body units, and more 8 3/4 than I know what to do with. And Dad and I got that 354 Hemi, 361, 400. That giant dog turd sitting over there that I can't wait to turn into a Target. White bucket seats, all this stuff. But what we need is what I think is up there. Nope, was not up here. But there is a whole bunch of other neat stuff up here, though. All the wheels and tire stuff we've been pillaging. This is up in the barn. The Hood Scoop collection. Lexan for the Pro Stock car. SSTs, Kragers, Vectors, but I came up here for Driveshaft. The only Driveshaft up here is for Dad's Charger, so here we go on an adventure. Alright, so I saved y'all probably the 45-minute search because there they are. Found them. Damn. Alright, so we'll get those dug down. We need to, I think it's the big one there on the right. That's the original one. We'll clean it up and get that back in the old Polara because that thing looked like it had already been done up and prettied up at one time. Dad, are you tall enough to reach that?
Huh?
Are you tall enough to reach that?
Oh, maybe.
We need Tall John.
The one with the planes?
Yeah. We have the original Driveshaft for the Polara. We're going to need to get some U-joints, clean this bad girl up. I started soaking the actual trunnion. This all used to move like 2 years ago when I got the car, and it just sitting around in the barn has kind of seized itself up a bit. So we're going to work on this. We're going to probably rebuild that sun gun. Don't take much according to the manual. So we got all the parts. We got 2 other Trunnion Driveshafts, and I know we're probably a myriad of more of them are sitting, so we'll get that all duded up and just keep making progress on the old Polara 500. Alrighty, well, would you believe me if I told you that was that same rusty and crusty Driveshaft? Look, still got the U-joint on it. You can tell which one it was, because it wasn't the torched off one. This is supposed to be the original Driveshaft for the old Polara. It fit in there, no problem. We test fitted it. And this thing was looking really rough. Like, it had pits like that, what it looked like all around it. And some people might get nervous about that, but I'm actually quite surprised at how well it cleaned up. Yeah, I just showed my big run. That's okay. As my dad would say, runs, they are no extra charge. So yeah, pretty happy with how it turned out. I heated the piss and oiled these U-joints to try and get these as freed up as possible. So I'm going to knock these out. I just got the Driveshaft in my rust converter epoxy paint for now. And then we'll get this guy out and replace, tape that end off, give this a final coat of paint, and well, be a Driveshaft for the Polara. But I want to show you some other parts that showed up. Alright, so for other parts that showed up, we got an order from Mega Parts in here, and what we got is the little strappies that go on your engine bay that hold your wires, because yeah, they use those in the factory, and I figured, you know, why not? We have the ground strap for the gas tank. This piece, the Yard Dart's the only car I ever had that had this still intact, really. And this is always missing. And this is extremely crucial for making sure you have a working gas gauge. So, that guy, a little expensive, but well worth it. And then one thing that was missing from the Polara, that Mega Parts offers. I'm not sponsored by Mega Parts. I didn't even realize I ordered all this from them. I got it from their eBay store. And again, didn't even realize it was all coming from the same place. But they carried the battery tray. Brand new reproduction. I've ordered from these guys before. They're really nice folks. They've always got good quality parts. And just can't say enough nice things about them, really. Oh, alrighty, folks. Time for a little update for y'all. So last night, I stayed up and painted the drive shaft for the old 64. Dad and I were talking about, you know, different things we could do, half and half, yada yada, and we just went with the traditional classic barber pole. Painted the whole drive shaft white and then did the gloss black around it. Pretty happy with it. It looks properly garish, just like everything else that I like to do. And we got everything cleaned up on this end. I already cleaned up the actual trunnion end. It's all re-greased. It's just wrapped up in paper, or wrapped up in a cloth right there. And we also got brand new U-joints. So our guy uses 7260, so I got solid Spicer 7260 series U-joints, the part number. For anybody who may not want to go through the hassle looking that up, that is for the 7260 series Chrysler U-joint. And I also got straps for it as well, because they're missing off of the 8 3/4. I don't know if this part number, any of these are correct, but it took me a little bit to source all this stuff, but did some cross-referencing and actually got everything off of Amazon and delivered in just a couple of days, and didn't cost much more than anybody else, so that worked out really freaking sweet. I'm joining the 21st century with buying everything on the daggone Amazon. So now I'll be basically ready to rock and roll, and then it'll just be finishing up the brakes, getting the engine probably to where it'll be ready to pop off, but that's for later on. We got the drive shaft to still finish up, so I'm gonna go do that, and I'll check back in with you folks here shortly. Ooh. It ain't torn in any place. I got it all sealed up, and so I made this little, found some scrap metal, some galvanized metal laying out in our scrap pile, and cut it out to shape basically using some red Dykem and a piece of notebook paper. There's our trunnion flange, and normally this centerpiece would have like a bump out in it. At least our A-body trunnion has that, but our big truck one does not. The big truck one's flat like this. And mostly what I understand this is all this is really doing is just keeping grease in here. So I'm now going to match drill the 4 bolt holes, so that way I know this thing fits on there square. We'll bend our tabbies down, we'll make a gasket, and then of course this whole thing ready to put in the car once we get that U-joint on the back, which that won't be as complicated because that's just normal stuff. Dad just got done cleaning out the threads on the 8 3/4 because someone had to do that horrible job, and well, for some reason he volunteered for it.
The mud daubers.
Oof. So he's got all that secured. Dad also made us a little gasket, glued it on. I got it bolted up. I just crimped my ends on there. So we got our homemade cover for now.
That's full of grease.
That is. It could use probably a little skosh more, but I don't want to put too much in there because I don't want it to end up blowing out.
Grease there for sure.
No. The little Chrysler manual talks about how much grease to actually put in there.
Yeah.
And I think I've already got more in there than what it calls for. But yeah, now I just got to put the U-joint on that end, and that bad boy will be ready to shove up underneath the old Polara and get reunited and connect that 8 3/4 to that 833. It's made it up to the 400 big block that you guys saw us make a run and put in there. So unfortunately it's going to be exceptionally cold tomorrow. Like, we've gotten really lucky with some 40 and 50 degree weather, and tomorrow it's going to drop down to 20, which 20 is not terribly cold, but when you've gotten used to 50 degree weather and even 40, 20 hits like a brick wall. So oh, I just checked.
It's
gonna be
colder
20.
heck tonight.
Yeah. So, progress continues. You the man, Dad.
Oh, you're the man.
No, you're the man.
You're the...
No, you're the man.
Look at that paint job.
I am kind of proud of how that barber pole turned out. It either looks really good or really crappy, and I'm pretty okay with the twist on it. Alrighty, well, basically call that bad boy refurbished. Brand new solid U-joint on their 7260 series. For anybody who is curious again, there's the part number if you'd like to order one. It's Spicer 5-789X. And like I said, that is a solid U-joint, non-greasable. And from research, it's basically negligible on which way is better. Just figured, go with that one. So, drive shaft might go in tomorrow.
Well, little baby step.
Alrighty, well, I went ahead and took off our homemade cover and gasket because, well, I wanted to clean the inside of this one more time and show you how this bad boy looks so everybody can grill me in the comments. But I wiped off some of the excess grease, and you'll see as I move this coupler and this rubber boot, this is your slip travel. I'm not doing the full extent of it, but I've got some grease packed down in here, and the majority of the grease needs to be up in here, but I just wiped it all down. Just wanted to show it, proof of concept. Got everything looking about as good as I possibly could for an original unit. Like I said, I'm pretty sure someone had done some work on this old girl here recently, but everything's working good. It moves back and forth, fore and aft, does everything it needs to. So, and well, it just springs on its own, so that's a good sign. So I'm going to pack that in with grease. That way it's got something to bunch up against on this, so it's not just smacking a dry gasket. And put it all back together, and that'll be ready to go in the old Polera. Heck yeah. Alrighty, well, look at that beautiful 300 right there. But we're not here for the 300. We are going to finally stab this drive shaft. We're going to get the speedometer plugged in, which is what's appearing to be our one leak from the 833. And, well, you saw how pretty the drive shaft turned out. And I showed you last night how got everything greased up. And I still need to paint the rear end and everything, and I'm going to probably put a sure grip in here, but that's going to be a little bit down the road. Goal right now is get all this stuff put together, and then we can only put this thing back on the ground and continue working on the top end, and well, we'll basically be done here, and we can start working on brakes and all that other hoopla and shenanigans. So let's get this drive shaft stabbed. Ooh, look at that. There's a floor pan, a drive shaft connected to the 4-speed. Basically everything I've touched, I've tried to make shiny. Everything else, not so much. 8 3/4 leaf springs, I'll be coming for you guys next. You all got to get purdied up along with, well, the whole rear end and the brakes, but yep, all new straps and everything at the end there. I know, bolting on shiny junk with new parts onto old junk, but you know, it's what we call a restoration. And we're gonna get the speedometer cable put in next with a new O-ring, and that should basically quell the 4-speed's minor leak it's got going on. Who doggy? And at Scott's Speed Shop first, you're gonna see us actually raise the front end of a car, because we both agreed the Polera's got a little more weight in it than it did with the boat anchor, and it was sitting just a little bit too low in the front. You know, some cars like Jezebel and the Satellite, they could sit with their nose in the weeds, but I have to agree with some people that these early B bodies, they look better with the nose up a little bit higher. I'm not thinking gas or stance, but well, maybe not so much nose in the weeds as normal. So yeah, ought to be considerably taller going from the last clip to this one.
Yeah, that's the same on both sides.
Sweet. Mine is my ugly K-bember that I didn't paint the underside of. Pretty happy with this look. Can't wait to have that rear end all painted up nice. And then it'll just be like a car show underneath here someday. All the prettiness is underneath there, which I don't mind this paint. I mean, this looks really good on camera. So really at this point, we could put the car back on the ground because we're basically done with everything we need to do underneath. And we can start working on brakes, fuel system, and all the other little stuff that's not that fun. Dad is truly the man with a plan. Well, daggone, Dad, look at that. That's actually about the perfect ride height, if I had to say myself. I'm glad we chose to raise it up extra.
Yeah.
It looked good, but it was a little nose in the weeds. It won't be long before we get to hear this bad girl run again, which, funny story is, we just released the video on when we mated the 400 to the 4-speed and got it running on the engine stand. And a lot of guys are telling me I had a miss. I don't think you guys, it's gonna be like way in the future by the time you see this, but I don't know if all you guys watched all the way to the very end, because yeah, it was missing, and I'm pretty sure I got the miss fixed. And it had that hell of a header leak that was right there that I pointed out, as my buddy William said, about 17 billion times, but we still had a couple guys let me know there was a header leak. You know, I appreciate all you guys. But I really do. I mean it, guys. I appreciate all the love and support, everything. It makes it a whole lot more easy to come out here on these slightly, it looks really nice out, and it really does. And it's like 40 degrees probably. It's one of the warmest days we've had so far in January. Well, we've had actually some 60-degree days, I'm lying. But anyways, I regress. This looks freaking great. My mirror jiggled, did you see that? There we go. All right, well, the car's in gear. It would technically be holding itself if we trusted it, but you know, red Mopars, they kind of got a bad rap. So, Dad, thank you for all your help.
For pushing you in the cold weather.
That is true. I was kind of looking forward to maybe playing the video games today, but
That's what we did yesterday.
you played video games yesterday. I was out in the shop.
It was like 20 degrees.
I was finishing the Driveshaft.
The north wind blowing his ass off.
And I was working on my mini Castaldo Fun City Flyer Pro Stock Challenger.
I couldn't believe he was out there. Even the shop was cool.
One of us was playing video games yesterday. But it was good for Dad to get to sit down and play Forza. That's a fun game. Because it's a lot more fun to watch him rip through cornfields in the 68 Charger on that game versus in real life him ripping through cornfields in his 68 Charger. Because, well, if you ever played Forza Horizon, you know what those cars look like real fast when they're playing out in the field. So, yeah.
Do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
That's kind of neat.
That's kind of why I like leaving my cars ugly, even though I'm never going to do that. It gives me an out to be able to say, yeah, someday I might drive it through a field. No, I couldn't do that. There's no way I could drive a car through a field or climb a hill. No, there's no way I would ever use one of these classic cars to do stuff like that. Dad.
That's bug.
But folks, thank you for checking it out. Thank you for being here and listening to us ramble. It's a damn good day to see this car on all fours, have the 4-speed, the drive shaft, and now we just got a bunch of little stuff to finish up.
It'll go quick now.
It will. So guys, join us next time as we continue our work on the old red Polara and eventually put it back on the road. So as always, thank you guys for checking it out and look forward to seeing you next time. As always, take care and
Bye-bye.
bye-bye.